Tonight, new details regarding a homicide in Superior, what led up to a son allegedly killing his own mother. And making preparations. One organization is telling homeowners on the shores of Lake Superior to be ready for another damaging storm. Plus, Trump takes action. The president signs an executive order that could fast-track a copper-nickel mine near the Boundary Waters.
From CBS3 Duluth, this is the CBS3 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Bakke. Tony is on assignment. Thanks for joining us. A Superior man has been charged with first-degree intentional homicide after stabbing his own mother in the head. Robert Lee Bennett made his first court appearance today. CBS3's Natalie Grant breaks down what led up to this tragic death.
Police responded to the intersection of Gates and Norwood here in Superior just before 7 a.m. on Tuesday. That's where they found Cindy Bennett's body. Now, after her son Robert Bennett's court appearance today, we now know more about what led up to her death. When police arrived at the residence, they saw Bennett's mother laying dead on the floor. Following interviews with multiple witnesses, it was determined that Bennett stabbed his mother several times with both a knife and a cooking thermometer. Bennett said originally that he did not remember the incident, but on further questioning admitted to stabbing and killing his mother, saying, quote, "She tried to get me, so I stabbed her." Now, according to court documents, when asked if he felt bad about killing his mother, he responded with no. In the complaint, it was said that Bennett was acting strangely that morning, and his mother was urging him to go to the hospital for help. Now, there were several other people inside the residence at the time of the incident. However, police say that none of them actually saw it happen. Bennett's bail is set at $1 million.
Thanks, Natalie. And Bennett is due back in court next week. Meanwhile, a young Duluth woman is dead and a Grand Rapids woman is fighting for her life after a head-on crash. It happened around 3 p.m. yesterday on Highway 2 near Grand Rapids. Authorities say 24-year-old Brienne Brody was driving a pickup when she crossed over the center line and collided with a Jeep. Brody died from her injuries. 57-year-old Kim Brown, who was driving the Jeep, is fighting for her life in a Duluth hospital. Authorities say neither driver was impaired. Moving to politics, President Trump signed an executive order which could impact the future of some types of mining in Minnesota. The president first spoke about the order at his rally last night in Duluth. It specifically cuts down on what Trump called unnecessary permitting delays for companies like Twin Metals, which is looking to build an underground copper-nickel mine near the Boundary Waters. The company submitted its mine plan of operation at the end of last year. Now, federal and state agencies are reviewing its design and possible impact on the surrounding environment. Supporters say it's a step in the right direction.
Anything that works to streamline the process and to provide incentives for companies to both develop and in the future maybe even process here can only be positive and helpful. We'll have to wait and see exactly what it means.
Others disagree. Those with Save the Boundary Waters say the executive order is not very clear in its intentions. Also adding, speeding up the permitting process means less time to fight for the Boundary Waters.
The Boundary Waters will be permanently damaged, and we'll never get it back the way it is now. So we can't afford any other outcome.
Save the Boundary Waters officials say they will continue to work with legislators to permanently ban mining in the BWCA. A federal judge has rejected a Senate candidate's lawsuit over Minnesota governor's COVID-19 orders. The judge dismissed a challenge by Republican U.S. Senate candidate Jason Lewis. Lewis argued that the state's coronavirus rules unconstitutionally limit his freedom to campaign. The judge said Democratic Governor Tim Walz acted within his authority to respond to the public health crisis when he imposed restrictions on crowd sizes, travel, and other measures. The coronavirus has infected nearly 100,000 Minnesotans and killed more than 2,000. Lewis says he'll appeal and make the ruling a campaign issue. Lewis is challenging DFL incumbent Senator Tina Smith. Dave's here now for a quick look at the weather. Dave, some folks saw a little bit of snowfall earlier.
Yeah, folks along the Vermilion Range and towards the North Shore got some flurry activity this morning because the temperatures were just cool enough. And tomorrow morning, the wind will be right, the lake's in the way, the South Shore gets a chance for a taste of that action as well. Here's a live look at Ashland right now where we have the clouds, but we don't have any precip coming down. But again, the fetch of the wind across the lake could be right for folks in the snow belt to get their first of the season flurries. I don't think it's going to add up to anything, and the low pressure system departing isn't packing that much of a punch. And by tomorrow afternoon, everybody should have a dry high in place, at least for a little while. So our Friday day planner says we start in the 20s in the morning. That's cold enough for a little snow, all right. But then it becomes partly cloudy to mostly sunny during the day. High temp 45 is cooler than normal. Probably will stay that way through Saturday, maybe Sunday. But after Sunday, we start to go towards the warm side of life, and I'll talk about that trip coming up after just a couple more minutes.
Thanks, Dave. We're no stranger to Lake Superior's wrath. We've watched her do her damage in recent years, whether to Duluth's Lake Walk or properties along the north and south shores. Now, the International Lake Superior Board of Control is warning those living on her edge to prepare for erosion. The board says though the lake is expected to continue its seasonal decline through the fall, water levels are expected to stay high. CBS 3's Leanne Valdez spoke to a business working nonstop, preparing people's homes for what's to come.
The lake is just tremendously powerful.
Though beautiful, the waves of Lake Superior can be harmful to landscape.
We took out our fire pit 3 different times, and it was starting to eat away at our grassy area.
While Wayne spends his falls and winters in Arizona, his North Shore property near Tofty is no stranger to erosion, eating away at his land.
Right now, the lake level is so high, that's what's creating most of the problem.
Wayne's home isn't the only one experiencing the issue.
And now this is becoming very popular. We have 5 other jobs currently going on up the shoreline.
Dean Johnston with Johnston Masonry is busier than ever before, specializing in seawall erosion prevention.
This one was 130 foot. We have a 250 foot wall.
Johnston says these types of walls include drainage systems, so as the waves hit the shore, it flushes back out.
We excavate this earth back, and we form a double-sided wall here. We pin it into the ledge rock.
The seawall is 14 inches thick and an investment that Johnston says is worth the price.
People have a ton of money invested into their homes.
The wall is said to last 100 years. Without some sort of protection, things could have ended badly for Wayne, says Johnston.
In another 2-3 years, this deck would have been gone.
So far this year, Johnston Masonry has built 8 seawalls, with more scheduled in the spring. Itasca County leaders are sharing numbers from last week's mass COVID-19 testing event. During a virtual call this morning, spokespeople say 907 tests were issued last Wednesday in Grand Rapids. Of those tests, 15 came back positive. The county has also seen 2 deaths in the last week. The county is currently reporting 356 total cases. That's an increase of 6 since Monday. But overall, leaders are pleased with the progress and encourage residents to get their flu shots. A Duluth business who stepped up to make PPE earlier this year has made a big cash donation to the local hospitals. Today, Duluth PAC presented a check for more than $3,500 to both Essentia and St. Luke's. Earlier this year, Duluth PAC made hospital gowns for frontline workers that were sent all over the country. Owner Tom Sega said he wanted to make a donation that would help the local hospitals. For every order of more than $150, Duluth PAC donated $5, totaling $7,200. Those at the Essentia Health Foundation say the money will be a huge help in improving the patient and worker experience.
It supports the iPad project and many different initiatives. We have been partnering with the Essentia Health Wellbeing team to make sure that frontline healthcare workers have the resources that they need, and this gift is a big part of that project.
The iPad project was started because of the pandemic. It makes it easier for families to virtually visit while in the hospital. Bentleyville is still about a month and a half from turning on the lights, but volunteers are already hard at work making sure everything is perfect, even during the pandemic. They started setting up this week. Volunteer Travis Stolp spent the day getting the lights in order. He says the lights stay in the trees all year, but they often need to be fixed. Even though this year's Tour of Lights will be a drive-through experience, he says it will be just as beautiful.
Yeah, that's for like me doing the lights in the trees. Nothing's changed. We go around testing all of them and replace them if need be.
Stolp says the hardest part about this year is waiting to set up light tunnels because there are industrial mats that have to go in for the cars to drive on. Bentleyville opens in Bayfront Park November 21st. It will cost $10 to drive through. Still to come on Live Local CBS 3, if it feels like fall fell on us a little early this year, you might be onto something. Details when we come back.
Yeah, fall temps surely fell on us today. High temp only 50, the normal's 58. Tomorrow, 45, about the best we'll manage, but a warm-up could start again as early as Sunday. We'll show you the 7-day forecast to track its progress coming up after our break.
Season 2 is
The
here,
Kelly
y'all.
Clarkson Show, weekdays at 3 on CBS 3.
Welcome to Medical Insight, a weekly healthcare feature brought to you by the experts at Essentia Health. Here's your host, Louis St. George.
Today on Medical Insight, Dr. Annabelle Butler discusses bariatric surgery, which aims to significantly and sustainably reduce body weight.
Bariatric surgery is really meant to treat the disease of obesity, and the disease of obesity comes along with several other chronic metabolic diseases, and the ones that are most common that we see would be high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, sleep apnea. A patient with diabetes who comes in for their weight loss surgery will go home and notice that they're using much less insulin, if not completely off of their insulin after surgery. Not every patient that gets bariatric surgery has a medical condition related to their obesity, but the great thing about bariatric surgery is it actually helps prevent them from developing those conditions. Really, bariatric surgery ends up adding years to a patient's life.
Dr. Butler says bariatric surgery is a proven tool for long-term, meaningful weight loss, though she knows there are misconceptions among her patients and others.
I tell them it's not a willpower issue, and that's part of the stigma of weight, but we have to change the way that we view obesity. And I keep coming back to, obesity is a disease. Patients after weight loss surgery tend to enjoy a new lease on life. They have improved physical function. They are coming off of a lot of chronic long-term medications and in general have a higher quality of life after surgery.
Bariatric surgery patients generally return to work within 2 weeks. For Medical Insight, I'm Louis St. George.
To learn more about this and other health topics, visit essentiahealth.org/medical insight.
Dante was killed in Pearl Harbor. We had a very hard time getting Dante flown home to Duluth, running into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. Pete Stauber was very much there for us every bit of the way. And he would look at us and he'd say, "We're going to make that happen for you."
Thursday night, the family of Dante Teeny got him back.
Pete came through for our family with flying colors.
He sees the needs of the people and he fights for them.
I'm Pete Stauber, and I approve this message.
My whole life, I have never known a moment without fear. The freedom of it.
Whatever happens, I'm here to protect you.
In life, there are triumphs. Courage beyond reason. That is Starfleet.
Star Trek Discovery Season 1 special presentation tonight at 10/9 Central on CBS. All seasons now streaming on CBS All Access. CBS 3 News is brought to you by Fond du Duluth Casino.
The Kelly Clarkson Show, right here.
Weekdays at 3 on CBS 3. Now, the CBS 3 Duluth WeatherMax forecast with meteorologist Dave Anderson.
Cold start this morning, especially north of Duluth, so places from Eagle's Nest near Sedan in through the Ely area towards Isabella got a little bit of snow activity this morning. Let's take a look at this video that comes from Pat Wilmers, who used to be an engineer here. He was in that neck of the woods and got the snow showers coming down. So this morning, folks in northern Minnesota got a chance for some decorative flurries. Tonight, the snow belt gets a chance as lake effect could kick in. Now, in neither place, I don't think anything's going to stick, but It sure is something to chat about this time of year, a sign of things indeed to come. Well, let's talk about signs of the here and now with the current conditions at the airport in Duluth. 44 degrees is that current temp. It's 53% for the relative humidity, and a northerly northwesterly wind is running 14 miles per hour. Air pressure starting to come up at the surface, at least now to 30.22 inches of mercury. And as it continues to increase overnight through tomorrow, we'll probably chase away tomorrow morning's South Shore snow flurries and get sunshine across the board, if only for Friday, because as early as Saturday, our next precip chance comes into the picture. Temperature picture right now says it's 39 in Watersmeet, 40 for Ironwood, and 45 in Ashland. 47 is the current temp for Superior and for Hayward. 46 we have right now in Solon Springs and Moose Lake. Mid-40s, Two Harbors. Upper 30s, Ely towards Orr. Probably through Cook and Tower Sedan as well. 41 degrees International Falls, 42 Grand Rapids and towards Hibbing Chisholm. 40 degrees straight up. Low temps tonight straight down into the 20s for most locations. Maybe a little bit warmer right by the lake. So the low pressure system that brought showers and thunderstorms in this morning's flurries for the Vermilion Range tracking towards the east. But again, the fetch off the lake tomorrow will be just right for a couple of snow showers to pop up in the snow belt there, roughly from Modena towards Wakefield. But then in the afternoon tomorrow, higher pressure takes over, clears us up, dries us up for a few hours, and perhaps only a few hours, because once the weekend gets here, first Saturday gets the low pressure system and a 30% shower chance, but Sunday gets a high pressure system and a return towards the brighter sky and a return towards normal temperatures. We'll get back towards 50 probably on probably Sunday, yes, and then warmer than that Monday and beyond. So we'll show the beyond here with our forecast tonight in Minnesota. We get low temps in the 20s. In Wisconsin, Michigan, upper 20s to low 30s, cool enough for that 30% flurry chance in the snow belt. And then for tomorrow, in the morning, 30% chance for flurries in the snow belt, but the rest of northern Wisconsin could clear up just like Minnesota. Highs tomorrow in the 40s, cooler than normal. Minnesotans get those temperatures in the 40s, but like I mentioned, by Sunday, back to 50. And then with sunshine, at least partial sunshine, 55 on Monday, and then we hit 60 Tuesday and Wednesday, and pretty close to it even next Thursday.
Not too shabby. Thanks, Dave. Well, if you're like me and you've been thinking the fall colors arrived a little earlier than usual this year, you might be onto something. Heather Brown at our sister station WCCO explains why Duluth and the North Shore have seen summer green fade to fall oranges and yellows earlier than in years past.
Scientists know that it's the amount of daylight that triggers the leaves to start changing colors. Less sun means less green chlorophyll, which means the yellows and browns and oranges start to peek through. Now, that happened mostly on time this year, but what was different was how quickly the leaves changed once they started. Check out this DNR map. This is today on the left. There's so much more red and dark red compared to September 30th. In 2019 and 2018. Forest health experts tell us there are a few reasons for this fall's speedy colors. Over the summer, there wasn't as much rain as usual up north, which means the soil isn't as moist, which means the trees are somewhat stressed. And stressed trees can change colors more quickly. The opposite happened in southeastern Minnesota, which had more rain than usual, and that stresses the trees too. I knew stress had something to do with changing colors? That's a different good question. Another factor, it's been a little colder up north, and that can cause the reds to really come out. Duluth saw its first hard freeze on September 18th. So for those of you who follow this map very closely, the amount of peak is defined as the percentage of trees that have already changed color so far in that particular area. Past peak means the leaves have dropped to the ground. This map comes from reports from 75 different parks and recreation centers across the state. They have to update at least once a week, but some do more than others, so that changes the map right away. So check back every few days, because this time of year, it all changes so much more quickly than most of us would like.
That is for sure. Well, coming up in sports, some big news coming out of today's Minnesota State High School League meeting. Kelly has a full breakdown next.
Get your new UTV from Duluth Lawn and Sport, the region's largest power sports dealer. CBS3 live cams are brought to you by Kohler Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. You're not just getting a car, you're getting Kohler.
What's behind the curtain? Window treatments from concept to creation to installation. Bellinger Draperies, Shades and Blinds. Shades above the rest.
Outpatient surgery excellence. More than 170,000 procedures performed and a 98% patient satisfaction rating. Save on your out-of-pocket costs. Have one caring nurse from pre-op to post-op, 80 accredited physicians in 15 specialties, and a state-of-the-art imaging platform. Outpatient surgery excellence. Lakewalk Surgery Center.
I'm Tina Smith, and I approve this message.
Jason Lewis sure has a lot to say about women. He actually said women who care about birth control are brainless. He opposed laws providing health care protections for women. Here's Lewis.
It used to be that women were held to a little bit of a higher standard. We required modesty from women. Now, are we beyond those days where a woman can behave as a slut, but you can't call her a slut?
Jason Lewis. Wrong for women, wrong for Minnesota.
I was diagnosed with diabetes at 13, so I got to work. I'm Quinn Nystrom, and I became a national advocate. Went door to door in Brainerd, then St. Paul. Went up to Canada to bring back insulin for a fraction of what drug companies charge here. But Pete Stauber went to Washington and voted against making healthcare and prescription drugs more affordable. I approve this message because Minnesota can't afford Pete Stauber in Congress.
A woman who was young had COVID-19. I remember her because she had a bracelet that had the names of her children. She asked me, "Doctor, am I going to be okay?" And I could not give her the answer that I wanted to give her. There's no excuse for why we don't have this under control at this point. Joe Biden listens to medical experts. He actually has a plan that does the things that we should have been doing many months ago. And Joe Biden is not going to let his ego get in the way of fighting the disease.
FFPAC's responsible for the content of this ad.
A smile has the power to get you feeling all right. At Aspen Dental, we're making every day a little brighter with our Smile Wide, Smile Safe promise. We've got you covered in every way, giving deep cleaning a whole new meaning. And if you don't have insurance, we'll give you an extra safety net too, with a free new patient exam and x-rays. At Aspen Dental, we're making it all right to feel safe and get smiling. We promise. Call 1-800-ASPEN-DENTAL.
Synergy. To us, it's the definition of what's behind the curtain. Discover what we can create together. Bellinger Draperies, Shades and Blinds. Shades above the rest.
Season 2 is
The
here.
Kelly Clarkson Show, weekdays at 3 on CBS3. Now, CBS3 Sports with Kelly Hinson.
Despite the pandemic, winter sports were given the green light today in Minnesota. The state's high school league giving its final approval a little over a week after deciding to also bring football and volleyball back to fall. CBS3's Neil Viersbuck brings us more.
A few months ago, there was some uncertainty on whether high school hockey games would be played right behind me here at the Heritage Center and all arenas in the Northland. But nonetheless, today, we were assured there will be hockey and winter sports this season. But there will be some changes, perhaps the biggest one being teams will have 30% less games on the schedule this year than they have in the past. And they will follow the fall model of only having 2 competitions per week. With the return of football and volleyball, that has also caused some sports and their start times to be pushed back just a few weeks. Duluth Northern Stars hockey head coach Jamie Plesha admits she was a little bummed that they are limiting the games.
It would be nice to have our full season and be able to play our full 25 games. But again, we're getting to play. And I think that should be the biggest message is that we get to play. It'd be nice to have those extra games. And especially since the season really isn't shortened by much. It was shortened by a week. So it's not too big of a difference.
Now the postseason tournaments for the winter season have yet to be determined. But today, the MSHSL voted against fall postseason tournaments, so perhaps that could be a sign of what's to happen for the winter sports. Back to you.
we have high school hockey. That's what I am happy about. Well, more from Neil coming up tonight at 10. Well, great news, Vikings fans. The only bad news now that remains is that the team has yet to record a win this year. This morning, the Vikings announced that no positive COVID tests have been reported over the last 3 days. This comes after their Sunday opponent, the Tennessee Titans, had 8 total players and staff members test positive. Their game on Sunday has been postponed. As of this time, the team has reopened training facilities at TCO Performance Center, and Sunday's game against the Houston Texans for the Vikings is still on. Vikes kickoff at noon. And today is the day. It is about time to start thinking about Grandma's Marathon 2021. Registration opens up this evening for the 45th annual race. The race is operating at half capacity this year after going virtual in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Half the usual runners will be able to register for both the full and the Gary Bjorklund Half Marathon, as well as the William Irving 5K. Registration opens at 7 p.m. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting excited about anything college hockey related to here in the Northland. And today it was UMD men's hockey dropping their 2020-21 roster. The Bulldogs welcome in 8 newcomers, including 6 freshmen to their roster this year. 6 of those newcomers are Minnesota natives, 2 from Hermantown alone. Still no formal start date for the Bulldogs. The NCHC announced last month it would be November 20th at the earliest. And while we send our condolences and mourn the Minnesota Twins season, the Brewers are still alive but are hanging on to hope. It's win or go home for Milwaukee tonight against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Brewers went down 4-2 last night in a late one on the West Coast. Orlando Arcia was the beacon of hope to maybe get something going for the Brew Crew, busting out a 2-run shot on the 0-2 pitch in the 4th. That cut the lead to just 1, but the Dodgers would add 1 more, and the Brewers add none. Game 2 is tonight at 9:08 on ESPN. Brewers looking to tie it up. Going back, Kristen, they announced we're going to have high school hockey. You know what that means here on CBS3. We're going to have Thursday night face-off.
It's been a while.
It's been so long.
And we didn't think it was going to happen.
I know.
This is great.
This is amazing. I mean, the shortened season, but hey, it's still going to happen. And just, I'm happy for these kids that will get to go out and play their high school sports.
Yes, a little bit of normalcy for everyone is always
with
good.
safety in mind, of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. Well, Dave, actually, I have one thing before you, Dave, here, I think. Nope, we're going right to Dave. All right.
For whatever that's worth. Here I am. Let's talk about the weather.
Yes, let's do
Tonight,
it.
for most of us, clearing and cool, though for the South Shore, a little lake enhancement, a little lake effect could bring some flurries to what's known as the snow belt. Won't stick, but again, it's a sign of the times, a sign of changes coming our way. Then we change towards sunshine for all zones in the afternoon, but the high temp of 45 is cooler than normal. Stays that way through Saturday's little shower chance, but then we start to warm up come Sunday. And by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday, back to normal, a hair warmer than normal, 55 to 60 degrees.
All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 10.